First contact gone wrong. The archival hall of the Galactic Concordat buzzed with an unusual energy as senior archivist Vexna hurriedly encrypted what would become the most controversial document in recent galactic history. Her crystalline appendages trembled as she recorded the exact moment when the most powerful civilizations in known space realized they had made a catastrophic error in judgment. The humans had done the impossible. Again. Commander Elena Santos stood at the viewport of the Earth Defense Force flagship Prometheus, watching the massive alien fleet approaching Earth's orbit. Her dark eyes reflected the distant stars as a slight smile played across her face. Behind her, the bridge crew maintained their positions with practiced calm, despite the looming threat of what appeared to be the largest assemblage of alien warships ever recorded. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Commander," Lieutenant Park reported from his communications station. "The Concordat is demanding our immediate surrender and submission to their Technological Oversight Committee." Elena's smile widened. How thoughtful of them to all gather in one place. "Send the acknowledgement signal." The alien fleet, representing 12 of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, had arrived with overwhelming force, or at least what they believed to be overwhelming force. Their intelligence suggested that humanity, despite their surprising advancement, couldn't possibly have developed defenses against the combined might of the galaxy's eldest races. Their intelligence was wrong. High Admiral Zixtal of the Concordat stood proudly on his command deck, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the bright lights. "The humans show wisdom in their quick response," he announced to his bridge crew. "Perhaps they are not as primitive as we feared." His tactical officer, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, pulsed with concern. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from Earth's lunar surface." "Expected," Zixtal dismissed. "Their lunar bases were documented in our surveillance. Nothing of consequence." The tactical officer's crystalline housing vibrated with alarm. "Sir, the signatures. They're not matching any known weapons profile." Sir, the moon is moving." Zixtal's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Impossible." Display visual. The massive view screen shifted to show Earth's moon. For a moment, nothing seemed amiss. Then, like a massive eyelid opening, a seam appeared across the lunar surface. The moon's crust began to separate, revealing a vast mechanical structure beneath. On the Prometheus, Elena keyed her command frequency. "Initiative Artemis's go. Activate the lunar defense grid." What the Concordat had dismissed as primitive lunar bases had been a cover for humanity's greatest engineering achievement. The moon, Earth's faithful satellite, had been gradually transformed over the past 50 years into the largest defensive installation ever conceived. Its core had been hollowed out and replaced with a massive gravitational drive system, while its surface had been restructured into overlapping plates of armor and weapons platforms. The alien fleet's sensors suddenly screamed with warnings as thousands of quantum-lock targeting systems activated simultaneously. The moon, humanity's first and greatest shield, had become their sword. "Impossible," Zixtal whispered. "Their technological level. They couldn't have." "But we did." Elena's voice came through on all frequencies, in perfect Concordat standard. "You see, while you were watching us develop along your expected technological paths, measuring our progress against your own history, we were watching you back, learning, adapting, and most importantly, innovating in ways you never considered." The lunar surface continued its transformation, revealing an arsenal that defied the Concordat's understanding of physics. Weapons that shouldn't exist for another 1,000 years by their technological development models gleamed under the distant sunlight. "You assumed," Elena continued, her voice carrying a hint of amusement, "that because we hadn't developed certain technologies in the sequence you expected, we couldn't possibly be advanced enough to threaten you. You never asked why we chose different paths." On the Prometheus's bridge, Lieutenant Park's console lit up with new data. "Commander, they're attempting to retreat. Their drives are spooling up." "Activate the quantum anchor fields," Elena ordered calmly. The human fleet, which had remained in Mars orbit, powered up their experimental drive systems. Space itself seemed to thicken around the alien armada. You came here expecting to find savages playing with technology beyond their understanding, Elena broadcast. Instead, you found something far more dangerous, a species that understood exactly what they were doing, but chose to do it differently. We didn't follow your path because we found better ones. The lunar installation's weapons remained locked on the alien fleet, but didn't fire. They didn't need to. The demonstration had served its purpose. Here's what's going to happen, Elena announced. We're going to have a long discussion about the future of galactic relations, about cooperation instead of suppression, about innovation instead of conformity. And you're going to listen, because today you've learned something crucial about humanity. She paused, letting the silence stretch meaningfully. We don't just think outside the box. We redesigned the box, rebuilt it with better materials, and turned it into something you never imagined possible. Just ask our moon. In the archival hall, Vexna finished her recording, adding one final note. And thus began the great recalibration, when humanity taught the galaxy that true advancement comes not from following established paths, but from daring to forge new ones. The galaxy had indeed screwed up, not in underestimating humanity's technology, but in underestimating their capacity for innovation. They had expected Earth to follow the same steps every other civilization had taken. Instead, humanity had looked at the stars and asked not how do we get there, but how else could we get there? And that had made all the difference. The hidden arsenal. High Admiral Zixtel's command chamber aboard the Concordat flagship had never felt smaller. The holographic displays surrounding him showed something that should have been impossible, detailed scans of Earth's technological capabilities that completely contradicted centuries of careful observation. Explain this to me again. He clicked his mandibles in frustration at the assembled group of the galaxy's foremost xenotechnologists. How did we miss this level of advancement? Dr. Linra, the Mersian scientist whose liquid crystal form rippled with anxiety, gestured to the displays. We didn't miss their advancement, Admiral. We missed its direction. While we watched for development along standard technological paths, humanity simply went sideways. The scans showed systems that defied conventional understanding. Where the Concordat had developed massive energy reactors, humans had created microscopic power cells that worked in harmony. Where alien civilizations had built enormous computer cores, Earth had developed distributed networks that turned entire cities into living processors. Commander Elena Santos stood in the lunar installation's central control room, watching the Concordat's desperate attempts to understand what they were seeing. The vast chamber, carved from the moon's core and lined with quantum computers that interfaced directly with human operators, hummed with power. They're scanning everything, Lieutenant Park reported from his neural interface pod. Particularly interested in the biosynthetic interfaces. Elena nodded. Let them look. It's time they understood what they've been trying to suppress. The biosynthetic interfaces were perhaps humanity's greatest departure from conventional galactic technology. While other species had pursued purely mechanical or biological advancement, humans had asked a simple question: why not both? In orbit above Earth, the Concordat's analysis ships discovered layer upon layer of technological innovation that challenged their fundamental understanding of progress. Earth's oceans contained vast networks of engineered coral that processed data while cleaning the water. The planet's magnetic field had been subtly modified to create a planetary shield that was both invisible and nearly impenetrable. These are their cities. Dr. Linra's voice trembled as she displayed new scans. Every building, every street, every piece of infrastructure is part of their defense system. The entire planet is a weapon. But it wasn't just a weapon. It was a testament to human creativity. While the Concordat had built dedicated military installations, humanity had made every aspect of their civilization serve multiple purposes. Parks doubled as power generators, using engineered plants to collect solar energy. Transportation systems could transform into evacuation networks or troop deployment systems in seconds. In the lunar control room, Alina received a priority message from Earth Command. Commander, the Concordat, is requesting a formal technological exchange meeting. They seem particularly interested in our neural interface systems. Alina smiled. Of course they are. Those interfaces represent everything they fail to understand about us. Schedule the meeting for tomorrow. Let's show them what happens when you let innovation flourish instead of trying to control it. The neural interfaces were a perfect example of humanity's unique approach. While other species had developed AI to operate their systems, humans had instead found ways to enhance their own capabilities. The interfaces allowed human operators to connect directly with their technology, creating a symbiosis that was neither fully organic nor purely mechanical. Admiral Zixtal studied the reports with growing unease. Their entire development has been a deception. While we watched for large installations and massive breakthroughs, they were making everything smaller, more integrated, more elegant. Not a deception, Dr. Linra corrected. An entirely different philosophy of progress. We built up, they built in. We separated our military and civilian technology, they integrated them. We tried to control the path of advancement. They let it grow naturally. On Earth, in what appeared to be an ordinary park in New Delhi, Alina met with her research team. The trees around them were not just trees. They were biological processors, their DNA modified to store and process data while still performing photosynthesis. The grass beneath their feet contained millions of microscopic sensors, monitoring everything from air quality to potential threats. The Concordat's biggest mistake, Alina told her team, wasn't trying to suppress us. It was assuming that suppression was even possible. They thought technology had to follow a specific path because that's how they'd always done it. They never considered that there might be infinite paths to the same destination. In orbit, the Concordat fleet remained frozen in the quantum anchor field, their mighty ships held in place by technology they couldn't even detect, let alone understand. Their sensors continued to reveal new layers of Earth's advancement, each discovery more bewildering than the last. They found houses that could think, roads that could heal themselves, and atmospheric processors disguised as ordinary office buildings. They discovered that Earth's satellites weren't just communications relays, but part of a vast neural network that extended throughout the solar system. We thought we were containing a primitive species, Admiral Zixtal said quietly to his assembled staff. Instead, we were watching an entirely new form of civilization evolve right in front of us. In the Lunar Control Center, Alina received word that the Concordat had finally finished their initial analysis. They're requesting to speak with our leadership, Lieutenant Park reported. They seem shaken. Good, Alina replied, because they haven't even seen our actual weapons yet. Everything they've detected so far, that's just our civilian infrastructure. Wait until they see what we built specifically for defense. The Admiral's next message was simple. We request a complete cessation of hostilities and the immediate establishment of diplomatic relations. We clearly have much to learn from Earth. Alina's response was equally brief. Agreed. And your first lesson starts now. Sometimes the best way to advance isn't to follow the established path, but to forge an entirely new one. Welcome to humanity's path. As the quantum anchor fields powered down, allowing the Concordat fleet to reposition into a less threatening formation, Alina couldn't help but smile. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their ability to imagine new possibilities. The hidden arsenal they had discovered wasn't just weapons and shields. It was creativity unleashed, innovation unlimited, and potential unbound. And that was something no amount of suppression could ever contain. Parallel evolution. The Galactic Concordat's Grand Conference Chamber had never hosted a presentation quite like this one. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's leading evolutionary technologist, stood before the assembled representatives of 12 alien civilizations, her neural interface subtly gleaming at her temples. "You've all been asking the wrong questions," she began, her voice calm but commanding. "You wanted to know how we developed our technology so differently. What you should have been asking is why we had to." The holographic display behind her showed Earth's history, not the sanitized version the Concordat had observed, but the real story of a species forged in adversity. "Earth is what you call a death world," Sarah continued, "but that term doesn't quite capture it. Earth isn't just hostile, it's dynamic, constantly changing. Our planet never gave us the luxury of stable development paths." Admiral Zixtal, now serving as the Concordat's chief diplomatic liaison to Earth, watched with growing understanding. His species had evolved on a world of predictable cycles and stable environments. Most galactic civilizations had similar origins. While your civilizations developed in environments that rewarded specialization, Sarah explained, Earth forced us to become adaptable. We couldn't just solve problems. We had to solve them in multiple ways because the problems kept changing. The display shifted to show Earth's rapidly shifting climate patterns, its geological instability, its biological diversity. Every factor that the Concordat had considered a hindrance to development had actually been driving innovation in unexpected directions. In orbit above the Concordat homeworld, Commander Elena Santos watched the presentation through her neural interface while conducting her own demonstration. The Prometheus, her flagship, was showing off capabilities that the alien engineers had deemed theoretically impossible. "You see," Sarah's voice continued in Elena's feed, "when your environment is stable, you can afford to develop technology in a linear fashion. But Earth taught us to think in parallel." The Prometheus demonstrated this principle in real time, its hull shifting through different configurations as easily as breathing. Where alien ships required dedicated systems for each function, human vessels could reconfigure themselves on the fly, adapting to new threats or requirements instantly. "We didn't just develop new technologies," Sarah explained to the increasingly unsettled audience. "We developed new ways of developing technology. Every solution had to be flexible, adaptable, capable of evolving alongside the problems we faced." The presentation showed how human cities had grown not up or out, but in all directions simultaneously. Buildings that could withstand earthquakes by dancing with them, rather than resisting. Infrastructure that could heal itself using principles borrowed from biological systems. Power grids that functioned like neural networks, rerouting energy as naturally as thoughts flowing through a brain. In the conference chamber's observation gallery, Dr. Linra's crystalline form pulsed with realization. "They're not just using their technology," she whispered to her colleagues. "They're growing with it." Sarah nodded, having heard the comment through her neural interface. "Exactly. While you were building tools, we were building relationships with our technology. We didn't want to control it. We wanted to collaborate with it." The display showed the progression of human neural interfaces, not as impositions of mechanical control over biological systems, but as partnerships. Humans and their technology had evolved together, each influencing the development of the other. "Your civilizations saw technology as something to master," Sarah continued. "We saw it as something to dance with, and in that dance, we discovered possibilities you never imagined." Elena's demonstration in orbit reached its climax as the Prometheus seemingly dissolved into a cloud of microscopic units, each one a fully functional system in itself, before reassembling into its original form. The alien observers were stunned into silence. "But here's what you really need to understand." Sarah's voice carried a note of passion now. "This isn't just about technology. It's about perspective. You saw Earth's harsh conditions as obstacles to overcome. We saw them as teachers." The final images showed Earth's ecosystems, complex, interconnected, constantly adapting. "Nature never solved problems with single solutions," Sarah explained. "Why should we? Every challenge on Earth spawned multiple answers, multiple paths, multiple possibilities. We learned to think the same way." Admiral Zixtal rose from his seat, his mandibles clicking in the pattern that indicated profound respect. "You're saying we didn't just underestimate your technology. We underestimated your entire approach to existence. Yes, Sarah smiled. You thought suppressing our technological development would keep us contained, but you couldn't suppress our most important technology, our ability to adapt, to think differently, to find new paths. In orbit, Alina received the feed from the conference. Show them, she transmitted to Sarah. Sarah's neural interface glowed brighter as she activated the chamber's hidden systems. The entire room transformed around them, walls becoming transparent, floor shifting to show the galaxy beneath them. Every alien present suddenly found themselves connected to a simplified version of human neural interface technology. Feel that? Sarah asked as the aliens experienced, for the first time, the sensation of true technological symbiosis. That's what you tried to prevent us from achieving. Not just advancement, but transcendence. The aliens experienced a moment of connection, not just with technology, but with each other and with the human perspective. They felt the exhilarating rush of possibilities, the freedom of parallel thinking, the joy of adaptation. When the demonstration ended, the chamber was silent for a long moment. Then Admiral Zixtal spoke, his voice carrying the weight of revelation. We owe humanity more than an apology. We owe them our gratitude. In trying to prevent their advancement, we nearly deprived the galaxy of its greatest teachers. Sarah's smile widened. Then let's begin your first lesson in parallel evolution. Because trust me, what you've seen so far, it's just the beginning. In orbit, Alina watched the proceedings with satisfaction. The galaxy was finally beginning to understand. Humanity hadn't just developed differently, they had redefined what development meant. And in doing so, they had opened doors that would change the course of galactic civilization forever. The Reckoning. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Concordats High Council was interrupted by an alert that no one had expected. 3 of their most advanced civilizations had simultaneously declared their intention to attack Earth. Not for containment this time, for elimination. Commander Elena Santos received the news with remarkable calm. On the Prometheus's bridge, her neural interface hummed with activity as she processed the incoming data. How many ships? She asked Lieutenant Park. 3,000 vessels approaching from multiple vectors. They're using experimental drive systems we haven't seen before. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. In the Lunar Installations Command Center, Dr. Sarah Chen's hands danced over holographic controls. They think they found our weakness, she transmitted to Alina. They believe our distributed systems can be overwhelmed by simultaneous attacks from multiple directions. Let them come, Alina responded. It's time they learned what happens when you corner an evolutionary survivor. The attacking fleet represented the militant faction of the Concordat, species who saw humanity's different development path as a threat to galactic stability. They had spent the last month developing weapons specifically designed to counter Earth's observed capabilities. What they didn't know was that humanity had spent centuries preparing for exactly this scenario. Admiral Zixtal, now Earth's strongest ally in the Concordat, transmitted an urgent warning. Commander Santos, they've developed quantum-severing weapons. They believe they can disable your neural interfaces, and we know, Elena interrupted calmly. We've known since they started developing them. Did you really think Earth was the only place we had sensors? In orbit around distant stars, countless seemingly natural objects, asteroids, comets, space debris, revealed themselves to be sophisticated monitoring devices. Humanity hadn't just prepared for defense. They had created the galaxy's most extensive intelligence network right under the Concordat's nose. As the enemy fleet approached, they encountered no resistance. No ships moved to intercept them. Earth's defensive systems appeared dormant. Even the transformed moon hung silent in its orbit. They're not even trying to defend themselves. The leader of the attack fleet, High Marshal Vex of the Kravik Empire, growled in satisfaction. Perhaps they've accepted their fate. Then, throughout the enemy fleet, systems began to fail. Not dramatically, not catastrophically, subtly, almost imperceptibly at first. Navigation computers made microscopic errors. Power systems operated at 99% instead of 100% efficiency. Communication signals experienced delays of milliseconds. You're probably wondering what's happening. Elena's voice reached every ship simultaneously. Let me explain. Remember those trade agreements you signed with Earth last month? The ones about sharing basic technology. On thousands of ships, realization dawned too late. The simple technology they had accepted, water recyclers, air purifiers, waste processors, had been more than they appeared. Each device contained microscopic machines that had spent weeks quietly integrating with their ship systems. Humanity's greatest weapon was never our technology, Elena continued. It was our patience. While you were preparing your attack, we were already inside your ships. We've been there for weeks. The attacking fleet found itself trapped, not by external forces, but by their own systems. Ships that tried to fire weapons found their energy redirected. Engines that attempted to retreat discovered new programming in their cores. In the Lunar Command Center, Sarah activated the final phase of Earth's defense. The surface of the moon rippled, but instead of revealing weapons, it displayed a massive screen showing the attackers their own ship's schematics, complete with the thousands of modifications humanity had made without their knowledge. 3 paths lie before you now, Elena broadcast. First, you can continue this attack. Your ships will be disabled, not destroyed. We're not as bloodthirsty as you feared. Second, you can retreat, but know that your ships will never be truly yours again. Or third, she paused, letting the tension build. Third, you can accept that the galaxy is changing. Evolution doesn't follow a single path. Progress doesn't move in a straight line. You can join us in exploring what's possible when we stop trying to control advancement and start embracing diversity. High Marshal Vex's ship, the pride of the Kravik fleet, suddenly found itself moving without commands. On every screen, in every system, the true extent of human innovation revealed itself. They hadn't just built better technology. They had reimagined what technology could be. Your weapons were designed to sever our neural interfaces, Sarah added, her voice joining Elena's. But you didn't understand what those interfaces really are. They're not tools we use. They're relationships we've grown. You can't sever a relationship that exists at the quantum level. Throughout the enemy fleet, officers and crews watched in astonishment as their ships transformed around them. Systems they thought they understood revealed new capabilities. Technologies they had dismissed as primitive showed themselves to be far more sophisticated than anything they had imagined. This is humanity's true power, Elena declared. Not the ability to build bigger weapons or stronger shields, but the ability to turn everything, even an enemy's strength, into an opportunity for growth. The attacking fleet hung motionless in space, their carefully planned assault rendered meaningless by preparations made long before they had even considered attacking. They had come expecting to find a dangerous but understandable enemy. Instead, they found something their military doctrine couldn't comprehend, a civilization that had transformed defense into an art form. Admiral Zixtel, watching from the Concordette's emergency session, finally understood. They never needed weapons, he announced to the assembled representatives. Their entire civilization is both sword and shield, and we never saw it because we were looking for something that looked like our own weapons. In Earth orbit, Elena gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. Show them everything. Across the solar system, human innovation revealed itself in full. Every asteroid, every particle of space dust, every ray of sunlight became part of Earth's defense network. The attackers found themselves not just defeated, but embraced by a technology so advanced it appeared organic. Welcome, Elena transmitted to the now silent fleet, to the future you tried to prevent. The question is, are you ready to help us build it? New Galaxy Order. A year after the failed attack on Earth, the Galactic Concordette's Grand Assembly Hall had changed. Where once rigid hierarchies had dictated seating arrangements, now representatives from all species mingled freely. At the center of it all, a joint human-alien team prepared to unveil something unprecedented, the first truly collaborative galactic project. Commander Elena Santos, now Earth's ambassador to the Concordat, stood beside Dr. Sarah Chen as they watched alien children playing with neural interface toys, simplified versions of human technology that taught parallel thinking and adaptive problem-solving. "They're learning faster than their parents," Sarah observed, her neural interface glowing softly as she monitored the children's progress. "No preconceptions to overcome." "That's always been humanity's secret," Elena replied. "We never stopped thinking like children, always asking why and what if instead of accepting. That's how it's done." The galaxy had indeed changed. The attempted attack on Earth had transformed into a watershed moment, forcing every civilization to confront their assumptions about progress and power. The revelation of humanity's subtle but pervasive influence had shattered the old paradigms of technological development. Admiral Zixtal, now the Concordat's chief of innovation, approached with an excited click of his mandibles. "The Quantum Harmony Project is ready for demonstration. Though I still think we should have chosen a more technical name." "Quantum harmony perfectly describes what it does," Sarah smiled. "It's about finding resonance between different approaches, different technologies, different ways of thinking." The project represented everything humanity had been trying to teach the galaxy. It wasn't a weapon or a shield or even a tool. It was a new way of existing. By combining human neural interface technology with alien quantum engineering and biological computing, they had created something that transcended its components. The massive display at the center of the hall activated, showing the project's first practical application, a planetary defense system that worked by encouraging cooperation rather than enforcing separation. Instead of creating barriers between civilizations, it created connections. The old Concordat tried to maintain peace through control. Elena addressed the assembled representatives. That failed because life itself resists control. It seeks growth, change, adaptation. What we're offering instead is a framework for collective evolution. Around the hall, representatives from formerly hostile species found themselves sharing ideas, building on each other's insights. The militant factions that had attacked Earth had been transformed, not through force, but through understanding. Their weapons had been turned into tools for exploration, their battle fleets repurposed for scientific discovery. But the most remarkable change, Sarah continued, isn't in our technology or our defenses. It's in how we view difference itself. Where once the galaxy saw divergence as a threat, now we recognize it as our greatest strength. The demonstration reached its climax as the quantum harmony system activated across multiple worlds simultaneously. Civilizations that had once competed now found their technologies working in concert, each contribution amplifying the others. The galaxy itself seemed to hum with new possibilities. A young Kravik, child of one of the fleet commanders who had attacked Earth, approached Elena with a question that would have been unthinkable a year ago. "Can you teach us how to think like humans?" Elena knelt down to the child's level. "Better than that. We can teach you how to think like yourself. Humanity's gift to the galaxy isn't our technology or our methods. It's the understanding that every species, every individual has their own path to discover." In orbit above the Concordat homeworld, the Prometheus had been transformed. No longer just a warship, it now served as a mobile learning center, its adaptive systems teaching visitors not just about human technology, but about the art of innovation itself. The galaxy feared us because we were different. Elena addressed the assembly. Now we understand that difference was exactly what the galaxy needed. Not to become like us, but to remember how to be uniquely themselves. Admiral Zixtal stepped forward. "A year ago, I helped lead the effort to contain humanity. Today, I stand here to say what we should have said when we first discovered Earth. Welcome to the galaxy. Not as subjects to be controlled or threats to be contained, but as teachers we desperately needed." The quantum harmony display showed the future taking shape, not a future of uniformity and control, but one of infinite variety and possibility. Worlds that had stagnated under the weight of tradition now blazed with new ideas. Species that had feared change now embraced it. Sarah's neural interface glowed as she connected to the system, her consciousness joining with representatives from a dozen worlds. In that shared space, the true potential of galactic civilization began to emerge, not as a single path forward, but as an endless fractal of possibilities. This is humanity's legacy to the stars, Alina concluded. Not the technology we built or the defenses we created, but the simple truth we never forgot. The most beautiful gardens don't grow in straight lines. As the assembly erupted in appreciation, Alina shared a quiet moment with Sarah and Zixtal. You know, she mused, they still think our greatest achievement was transforming the moon into a defense platform. Sarah laughed. Should we tell them that was just a prototype? That Earth itself is so much more. Let them discover that on their own. Zixtal clicked in amusement. After all, isn't that what humanity has been trying to teach us? The joy isn't in knowing, it's in finding out. The galaxy had feared humanity would bring chaos. Instead, they had brought something far more powerful, the courage to embrace chaos and find the patterns within it. They had shown that true strength lies not in resisting change, but in learning to dance with it. And in that dance, a new galaxy was born.